Hello everyone, in this video we'll be studying about the design of eccentrically loaded welded joint. So let's see what is an eccentrically loaded welded joint. So here you can see this plate that is welded to the back plate with the help of this weldment. So this is the welded section you can see here, and the CG of the welded section will be coming here, and that location we have to find. So anyway, CG is coming here, but the load is not passing through CG, it is acting or passing through some other point. So that makes it an eccentrically loaded welded joint. And in this kind of problems you will have to evaluate the size of the weld. So let's see what is actually the size of the weld. So if you are looking onto the or if you are having the side view, then this will be looking like this. The base plate will be coming here and the jointed plate will be showing in this red color, and this will be showing the welded section that is corresponding to this sections. So usually in the design of welded joints, the welded cross sections are assumed to be of isosceles triangle. That means the triangle with the two sides same, and that side we are taking it as h, and that h is known as size of the weld. So here we have to evaluate this size of the weld. So whenever designing, there will be an area that is known as throat area, which is actually the weakest area for throat section. So if you are analyzing the planes, different planes, if you are measuring this distance, then this will be equal to h, and if you are measuring this distance, then that is also h. But if you are going or taking this section at some plane, then there will be a distance that is occurring across this section such that this height is the minimum, and this size we will be calling it as ht, and this section that is taken through this direction is known as throat section, and this ht is known as size of this throat. So ht is actually the size of throat section, and there is some relation between this ht and h. Usually the ht will be taken as 0.707 times that of h. That means h is greater than ht, and this ht will be used for all design, but usually we will have to find the value of size of the weld. So for that relation you can use this one. So in case of eccentric loading, the first step, so here we'll be focusing back on to this solving this problem or procedure. So here you are having this weld section, and weld section is in the form of a C shape, or here weld sections will be assumed as that is consisting of lines, and here you can see three lines. One line is of length n, another line is of length m, and another line is of length n. So this weld section is assumed as lines, and first step will be to evaluate the CG. So here you are knowing that CG will be located at the half of this m, that is m by 2, but it will not be coming at n by 2, that it will be concentrated towards the left side, as it here material is present. And here you will have to evaluate the value of this CG position from this axis, that is known as ny. So in data book the equation is given, but there is a mistake in data book, so I will be showing that how to obtain this ny value. So here weld sections are assumed as line, and here you have to evaluate this distance ny. So since it is assumed as line, this ny you can evaluate like L1x1 plus L2x2 plus L3x3 divided by L1 plus L2 plus L3, since we are having or three weld sections or three weld line. So this one is actually L1. So here L1 we are having the L1 is n. So this is n, and CG of this weld section will be coming here. That means this x1 will be equal to n by 2. And similarly, the second line L2 is of length m. That means this is second part. So this line is m, and the coordinate system that we have considered is lying here. So its origin is here, and also the CG of this part is here. So x2 value is 0. So x2 you are having 0. And L3 in a similar way you can obtain this. L3 is this much length, that is corresponding to n, and x3 is equal to n by 2. And finally this is n plus m plus n. So if you are solving, you will be getting ny as n square divided by 2n plus m, like this you will be getting. So this is the CG of this part. Means if you are given with the distances n, m and n, then you can find the CG of this part like this. But the same expression is given in the data book, so you can easily use that one. For your understanding, I have shown how to obtain this CG of the weld section. So first step is this one, and the same equation I will be showing in the data book, but there is a mistake. So in data book page 96 in table 6.7, you can find the CG of all weld sections. So here our weld section is coming in the form of this C or 3 lines. So you can consider or find that same figure here, and here it is given the value of ny. So here ny is actually given as n square divided by 2 into some bracket is coming, so 2 into n plus m is coming, but actual value is, so you are knowing the whatever correction is there, so this ny should be equal to n square divided by 2n plus m. So this is the correction. So there is some mistake in this value of ny that you have to understand. So there is no bracket, it is 2n plus m. And also in the third column you are having the polar moment of inertia of this weld cross section, that is assumed as these 3 lines or C section, and that J is equal to ht into the dimensions n and m are coming within the bracket. So here also the ht you can convert, or you can consider it as wherever ht is coming in design, you will be converting it into 0.707 times h that we will be seeing in the design. So so far we have evaluated, or we studied how to locate the CG and its distance. That's all we have studied, and how to take it from this table, and you are knowing this mistake also. So here you have evaluated the CG. Now load is not passing through the CG and it is at some distance. So now you can measure this distance between CG and this point where load is acting, and this distance will be called as E, which is known as eccentricity. So now you will be transferring the load acting at this point to this CG. Then for that you can consider an equal and opposite forces. So out of these forces, these two, or this pair of force, will be creating a couple in the clockwise sense, and its magnitude will be P into E. So as a result, finally you will be having a force that is acting through the CG whose magnitude is P, and a couple of magnitude P into E. So this effect of this both load as well as couple we have to take, and this effects will be taken for finally designing or finally finding the size of the weld. So here we'll be finding the first or considering the effect of load. So if you are seeing, this is the weld section that is lying in the plane, and this load P is acting in a direction parallel to the plane or tangential to the plane. So this load will be acting as a shear load, that is known as primary shear load for this cross section, and this will be creating a stress which is known as primary shear stress, and we will be designating that primary shear stress by tau1, and that primary shear stress will be equal to shear load by shear area. Here shear causing load is, or shear load is P itself, and area is area across the throat section. So for finding the area across the throat section, I will be calling it as AT. You will have to multiply the size of the throat section into L, where L is known as length of the weld. So here weld is this much length, that is n plus m plus 2n. So here length of the weld will be equal to 2n plus m, and HT is the size of the throat, that will be equal to 0.707 h, where h is the size of the weld and ht is the size of the throat. So in this way you can find the primary shear stress, and this primary shear stress will be uniform at all sections within the weld sections. So based on this you can draw the stress distribution, or the primary shear stress distribution. So whatever point you are taking in this weld section, this will be distributed like this. This will be known as tau1, and if I am naming this point as A, then this will be tau1A, and if you are having some point here, then the same vector of same magnitude or same length, so this is primary shear stress at all points. You can represent it in this way. So whatever point you are taking, the magnitude will be same. So if you are having some point here, this will be equal to tau1b, and this tau1a and tau1b will be same. So this tau1a will be equal to tau1b, and the magnitude you can evaluate using P divided by ht into L. Finally I will be showing all the equations in data book. So this is the way how you are finding the effect of primary load, that is the primary shear stress. Next we will be seeing the effect of secondary couple, which is of magnitude P into E. So here we will be discussing the effect of moment P into E. So if you are observing, this P into E will be creating, or it is acting as a moment which is parallel to the section. So this will be creating a bending moment, or twisting of this section will be created. So as a result, this torsional moment, or this moment of magnitude P into E, will be creating a stress which is known as secondary shear stress, and we will be designating that secondary shear stress by tau2, and whose magnitude, generally this equation is coming from, this general equation is not given in the data book. They are giving only the case of a they are giving only the equations of a specific case, and we will be seeing that. And this general equation you should be knowing, and this comes from the basic torsion equation, where tau by r equal to T by J, so that tau equal to T into R divided by J. So where torque, or the torsional moment, is actually this P into E, and for R you have to take the R max, that is the maximum distance from CG to the weld section. So there will be a point in the weld section which is located at the far located the most distance from this CG, and we'll be selecting such a point, and at that point we'll be taking the maximum secondary shear stress, and I will be showing that. And when J is the polar moment of inertia, which you can take from the table 6.7. So for example, if here I am showing you only this showing the parameters for this C shape whose ny is there is correction n square by 2n plus m, and in the last column here you can see the J, the polar moment of inertia for this weld section, and it is given in terms of ht. So for ht you can write it as ht equal to 0.707 h. So you will be finally representing in all in terms of h, and remaining n and m are actually the dimensions. So here Rmax will be explaining. So Rmax is the maximum distance. So if you are taking the weld section, CG is located at this point, and if you are observing, the point within the weld section which is located at maximum distance from CG will be lying at this point or at this point. That means this will be the maximum distance. So this will be the Rmax or this will be the Rmax. So at this points the maximum secondary shear stress will be acting. So the magnitude of secondary shear stress you can evaluate using this one. Next I will have to, or I will be showing how to draw the secondary shear stress distribution. So we are having the point which is located at the maximum distance, that is this is the one of the point, and this is also another point. So I'll be calling this point as A and this point as B. So to evaluate or to obtain the Rmax, you can connect this by a straight line. So this will be giving you the Ra, which is a maximum, and also the next maximum distance will be to the point RB, and that will be equal to RB, that is also the maximum. So here RA and RB will be same, and here the secondary shear stress the direction you can obtain, and that will be perpendicular to this line joining this CG and point A, and since the moment is clockwise, this will be acting in this direction, and here this will be acting in this direction, and you can name it as TOE 2A since it is secondary at A, and this one you can name it as TOE 2 at B. Since TOE 2, since RA and RB are same and all the parameters are same for this cross section, the TOE 2A and TOE 2B will also be same. So these points are having the maximum secondary shear stress. So the primary shear stress is uniform across all these sections or at all points within the weld sections, but secondary shear stress is maximum at only the points which are located at a maximum distance from the CG. So from this primary and secondary shear stress component, you can obtain the resultant shear stress. So here we'll be finding the resultant shear stress. So for that you are knowing that the point A is lying here, and this is having the maximum secondary, and at all points primary is A. So I'll be taking first A, and at this location primary shear stress is lying in this direction and its value is tau 1A, and at B it is lying at tau 1B it is. And the secondary you are knowing, secondary is perpendicular to the line joining this one, and this line is, or its length is known as RA, and secondary will be perpendicular to this one, and its magnitude will be tau 2A, the secondary at A. And in a similar way you can evaluate the secondary shear stress at B also, that will be perpendicular to this one, and that magnitude will be equal to tau 2A. So tau 2A and tau 2B are of same magnitude, and tau 1A and tau 1B are of same magnitude. So now you can obtain the resultant shear stress by applying the parallelogram law. So for that you can consider or construct the parallelogram, and finally you will be getting the parallelogram like this. So the resultant of this will be of this much magnitude, and I will be calling this as the vector or resultant shear stress at A. In a similar way you can obtain the resultant shear stress at this location also. So there also you will be getting this value of shear stress, that is known as tau B. Here tau A and tau will be same because tau 1 and tau 2 are same. And here to obtain, say we will be taking tau A, as any of this one can be used for design, and this tau A will be equal to tau 1A square plus tau 2A square plus 2 tau 1A tau 2A into cos theta A, where theta is the angle between this primary and secondary. So this will be the angle between primary and secondary, and this can be evaluated from this figure, or this same theta A will be also the angle between primary and secondary. So from this figure you can evaluate theta A. then you can find the maximum shear stress which is acting at this weld section, and the same can be used for design. So either toe A or toe B will be the maximum shear stress. So any of the point can be considered as the critical point, and whose shear stress, resultant shear stress, can be used for design. And now we'll be seeing. So finally here we'll have to find the size of the weld. For this you will be applying, or you are having the toe resultant, or this is the maximum shear stress within the weld section, and this will be equated to, or this should be lesser than the toe allowable. So this toe A is actually square root of toe 1 A square plus toe 2 A square plus 2 toe 1A toe 2A cos theta. This equation I will be showing in data book. That is actually for a specific shape or figure, and this should be less than or equal to toe allowable. And here we are knowing the magnitude of toe 1A is primary shear stress, which is equal to primary shear load divided by HT into length of the weld, and here this is equal to P divided by HT should be converted into 0.707 H into length of the weld. Here it is 2n plus m. And in a similar way, the toe 2A, the general magnitude is P into E into R max. So R max you can see from the configuration, divided by J, and in J actually coming in terms of HT, and this HT in denominator also you can calculate in terms of, or convert in terms of 0.707 H. H into some function or some constants are there that you can take from the table. So anyway, in toe 1A and toe 2A, finally this H variables are coming. So H is actually the unknown, so you can equate to toe allowable, and finally you can find the value of H. So this is the size of the weld that you can evaluate at the end of the problem. Usually these questions are asking you to evaluate the size of the weld, or H in mm you will have to answer. So this is the design procedure for this kind of eccentrically loaded welded joints. So hope you understood, and now we'll be seeing the equations given in data book for a specific figure. So here in page number 91 there is some figure is given. So if you're seeing this figure, actually it is given in the form of a C section. So you can, the bolded line looks like it is a C section, then its CG is given like that, so it is coming at the center. If you are having a C section, then CG will never come at this position. CG will always come towards this position. So CG will be coming somewhere here. That means this figure is actually not corresponding to this C section. So this is actually wrong. So this is actually corresponding to a parallel weld section. So if you are having a parallel weld section, then only CG will be coming exactly at the center. And also the same mistake you can verify using this equation. So here this is the expression for secondary. I already have shown that secondary is equal to P into E into R max divided by J. And here the dimensions are, this dimension they are taking as n, and this gap between them there is no line. This gap is known as m. Then this CG will be lying, or this distance will be equal to half of n by 2, and this distance will be equal to m by 2. And here RA, RB, or the R max will be same. So this will be the R max, and here if you are finding, this R max will be equal to square root of m square plus n square the whole divided by 2 it is coming. So if you are substituting, P into E into square root of m square plus n square the whole divided by 2j is coming. That means this equation is actually given here. So it also makes you understand that this is actually given for a parallel weld section. So this figure should be actually for a parallel weld section. If such a case is coming, then you can apply all this equation to find this resultant shear stress and you can solve. But if a C section or another section like this one is coming, then you have to know the general expression for primary and secondary, and from that you have to evaluate the resultant shear stress. For such a problem, for such cases, we will be solving problems in the next coming videos. So hope you understood this entire theory as well as design procedure and this mistake.